Thank you, Lily. That was wonderful. I'd like to read our quote today. Whatever our gift, we are called to give it and to dance for the renewal of the world, in return for the privilege of breath, by Robin Wall Kimmerer. To all who are yearning for community, come in, be among us. To all who are just getting started, to all who are long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care, come in, be among us. To the ones who have healed and have care to give, for those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach, come in, be among us. For the ones who are just beginning to suspect that they might nurture others' becoming, to the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room here for each and every one. Come in, be among us. Together we are a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning. And welcome to South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. My name is Cate MacGillivray. My pronouns are she and her. I am a pale-skinned, white-haired woman of undeterminable age. And it is my privilege to serve as the worship associate for this morning's growing community.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Lora Young. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a tall, red-haired woman with pink glasses, and today I have a visitor. Her name is Quinn. She doesn't belong to me, but I still like having her for just a moment. As we settle into, my pronouns are she and her. As we settle into this space, this place known as South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society, I invite you to know a little bit more about this particular place. For some of you, this place is a familiar spiritual home. For others of you, it is a possibility that it will become your spiritual home. And as we extend outside of this building into the grounds and the valley beyond us, this place The Utah desert and the mountains is also sacred ground. Many of you have walked and hiked and camped and explored the desert and mountains of Utah for decades. This valley and its rich beauty is a place of solace, memory, and connection to family, to friends, and to your lived experience. For others of you, you are transplanted here, finding your way through the valleys and the rivers and the mountains. All are welcome here. This valley and mountains have been a place of arrival, sharing, and connection for thousands of years. Many indigenous tribes in the West traveled to the Great Salt Lake for trade, political negotiations, and art, as well as to learn who had been born, who had passed away, and who might be eligible for marriage. The people of this place, the Shoshone, the Paiute, the Goshute, and the Yup tribes, have loved, have celebrated, as well as endured great hardship, loss of land, culture, and livelihood over the last 2,000 years. Well, last 500 years. Let me count that. 250 years. The land here is rich in human stories. And I invite you to settle into the complexity and the beauty of this place for a moment. As part of our commitment to the restoration of the cultures oppressed and eliminated on this land, South Valley Unitarian Universalists donates 10% of our building use fees. This year, that resulted in a $2,200 gift to the Urban Indian Center. We don't often take time to speak of our commitment to the land, but today, because we are in the process of getting ready to do things with and for our land, it seemed appropriate to remind our community that our commitment is one of the heart, of the mind, of the soul, and of the history of this place. I offer you these words from Lada of the Eastern Shoshone. She writes, "I am a citizen of two nations, Shawnee and American. I have one son who is a citizen of three. Before he was born, I learned that, like all infants, he would need to experience a change of heart at birth in order to survive. When a baby successfully breathes in through the lungs, the heart changes from parallel flow to serial flow, and the shunt between the right and left atriums closes. Our new bodies obliterate old frontiers. North America, this place that we are on, is mistakenly called nascent. The Shawnee Nation is mistakenly called moribund. America established a mathematical beginning point in 1785 in what was then called the Northwest Territory. Before that, it was known in many languages as the Eastern Range of the Shawnee, Miami, and Huron homelands. I do not have the Shawnee words to describe this place. The notation that is available to me is 40 degrees, 38 minutes, 32.61 seconds. Yes. North 80 degrees, 31 minutes, 9.7 seconds west. The notation of South Valley Unitarian Universalists building is as follows: 40 degrees, 37 minutes, 25.86 seconds north. 111 degrees, 50 minutes, 3.624 west. I also do not have the words to describe this place that is my spiritual home, but I am hoping to one day know in full the emergent and present truth and my place in it. Let us light our chalice, Quinn, because your mama probably wants to come get you. Please rise as you are willing and able, in body, mind, and spirit, as we light our chalice.
We'll ask Etla to come forward.
Come on, Etla. Please join me in our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. You may be seated. I'm going to invite everyone who has a birthday in April to come on forward. It's our birthday blessing. So, on behalf of the congregation, receive our blessing. May this coming year be one of deep joy and of found friendship and meaning. When the days are bright and cheerful, may you find yourself surrounded with those who will laugh alongside you and share in your joy and lift you up. On the days when it seems that things have gotten darker than you can bear, may you be surrounded by those same people, reminding you of who you truly are. And may they carry you as needed across the bridges of the unknown. You are a blessing to this community. We are so grateful that you were born, and we are glad that you are here. Happy birthday.
Hello, good morning, friends. Some of you longtime members might already know me, but it's been a long time since I've spoken up here, so I'll introduce myself to our newer faces. My name's Anna Renshaw. I use she, her pronouns, and I grew up attending South Valley. Some of you may also know that I run a little grassroots organization called Pro-Choice People of Utah. South Valley was the place where I learned how to get involved in social justice, so we're now coming full circle, and Reverend Lora and I are planning a protest together. So the event is called the Faith and Democracy Interfaith March. It will take place on April 27th from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll start at the Capitol steps with some speeches and sermons from community members and congregational leaders from around the Salt Lake Valley. And then at 3:30, we'll march down State Street to Washington Square. I would love to see many familiar South Valley faces there to represent our congregation. So please join us alongside other organizations, including Green Wave, Druids for Change, Mormons with Hope, along with other congregations, in sending a clear message: the faith community will not bow to tyranny. Thank you, and I hope to see you there.
So this community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. This month's giving partner is Comunidades Unidas. Founded in 1999, CU fights to build the social and political power of people who identify as Latinx immigrants, including undocumented folks living in Utah. If our ushers will come forward. Please join me in reading our offertory words. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts.
for all we have received and all we've had the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing for South Valley and for the good work of Comunidades Unidas. I invite you now to just settle for just a moment. This is the part of the service where we have welcomed and we have greeted, we have prepared and we have offered to the goddess. Let us sit in silence as she prepares to give to us.
So a few weeks ago, we asked you to fill out Post-it notes with your plan to create your personal mini revolutions and then post them on the wall in the social hall. And many did. And if you haven't had a chance to read what your fellow UUs wrote, please take a minute to read them. And I'd also like to ask that you use the Post-its that are sitting in the window well, and there's pencils and pens there too, to write a new idea or expand on the one you wrote. Let's fill that wall with good intentions that we can all learn from. So it wouldn't be me if I didn't have a book to share with you. The latest one I'm listening to is Playground by the author Richard Powers, who you may know from the book The Overstory. I was completely overwhelmed with the beginning of the book, read by a beautiful voice describing the concept of creation from the view of the Polynesians, the Maori of New Zealand, and other nearby Pacific islands. It goes like this. Before the earth, there was a lonely god, Tearoa, living in an eggshell. At some point, he, being an artist, began creating a playful place. His shell made the earth. His tears filled the waters of the earth. His bones made the islands and mountains. And he summoned other artists to help, and together they built a place of color, beauty, and peace. It was a work of art. The people delighted Tearoa as they multiplied and made things. It pleased him to see the people live in harmony with each other and in the world. In the Mayan story of creation, there is similarity. There was emptiness. The creators imagined a world into existence by simply saying its name. The divine beings tried to build humans using different mediums. The first were made of clay and didn't work at all. The divine beings wanted people who could be givers of respect, givers of praise, providers, and nurturers. They tried to use wood next. For a while, the experiment worked, but it was seen that they did not have compassion and love in their hearts. The next try was sacred energy of the sun and light. They were beautiful people, but arrogant people. In the divine's last attempt, they used white and yellow cornmeal, which they mixed with corn liquor and water. They were good people. They danced, sang, and had words to tell stories and offer prayer. Their hearts were filled with compassion for the rest of creation. They were respectful and grateful for the world that sustained them. In some American Indigenous stories of creation, the Sky Woman fell from Sky World. A shaft of light followed her into the darkness, and she clutched a bundle tightly in her hand. When she landed, the waterfowl gently broke her fall. They realized she needed firmament on which to stand. A turtle presented itself onto which she stepped. She unfurled her bundle from that she made the earth and called it Turtle Island. From this, the cherished sweet grass grew. Its scent evoked ancient memories, and braiding it was a metaphor for braiding human hair, melding its connection with Mother Earth. Eventually, the people braided each other's hair, and it felt as if they were braiding the hair of Mother Earth, showing her their loving attention and care for her well-being, and they were grateful. When children are raised with Sky Woman's story, they know that this responsibility flows between humans and the earth. I'll say that the credit for the last two stories goes to Robin Wall Kimmer's braiding sweetgrass. Another thought is that we have all evolved from a single organism over eons of time. And as beings developed, they innately embraced the potential of human behavior to self-actualize their own ethical behavior without the influence of a supreme being. In this, they act with compassion for each other and for the earth. In the Bible, Quran, and Torah, we learn that Adam and Eve were created to care for the plentiful earth. We also learn that there were consequences when instructions weren't followed. The word enmity was used to describe feelings between men and women. The word sorrow was used when describing childbirth. And we learn that man would rule over woman and that the people were given power over the earth. Obviously, these are extremely condensed versions of incredible imagination and are deeply moving, life-sustaining concepts. But the message is basically there. Which version works for you? Maybe you'll pick and choose or find another version. Perhaps you'll want to read deeper into these stories, and perhaps they will influence the intentions you post on the mini revolutions wall downstairs.
This month, as we begin to explore the valleys and hills of creation, I am reminded of an old theological term, the ground of being. It is a term that has been used over centuries to describe, in a short way, not as complicated as it can be, theologians can write long things, but the ground of being is meant to hold and support this idea that we are connected and that we long for a place to be. Now, many Western philosophers have struggled with this idea, and it is from that struggle that this sermon comes. One of the first places as a Western civilization we land in this ground of being is the realization of just how disconnected we are. All of our stories in Western Christianity have become stories of disconnection, stories of being a mind, a body, and a spirit that is seeking to be unified, stories of people who have lived in diaspora and are seeking to find the promised land again. And on top of that, we have stories that have emerged and merged with one another of colonialism and capitalism, of structural oppressions, all of these energies which separate us from one another. Those can be summed up in this idea that to be disconnected from self, from other, from world, from the land, that is actually hell. In UU circles, we often don't talk about this word hell. In fact, many of us would say we don't believe in hell. And what we mean by that often is we don't believe in a hell after we die. That our theology, our eschatology, as you would say, focuses us in this here life right now, and about what we are called to do and who we are called to be in this moment to reduce and mitigate and try to eliminate suffering and create communities of justice and compassion. Separation from one another is hell. Separation from the land is hell. We long to reconnect to the land. But for many of us raised in Western culture, this idea of the land is a pastoral idea that is long removed from our bodies. Many of us at most have a small patch of land with which we might grow flowers or a few vegetables in the summer. Most of the land that we live on in Salt Lake City is covered with asphalt. We do have the chance to look up at our beautiful mountains and see what the land actually looks like when it has not been built over and upon. But what if we had never been separated? That's the question and the imagination I want to invite us to this month. What if we had never been separated? What if we had never, for most of us here in this room who claim Western heritage, what if we had never been removed from our lands 1,000 or 2,000 years ago? What if we had not carried those wounds across the oceans and perpetuated them on the peoples that were here who were connected to the land? And what are we to do about it now? Because here we are, mixed up in this beautiful landscape that is longing for us to know it, just as much as we long to be known. The question that we asked at the beginning of this year in our water ceremony was, what does it mean to become Indigenous again? Not in the sense of how do we appropriate someone else's culture and make it our own. Not in how do we feel guilty and separated for the rest of our existence, but what is the work that each of us and this community must participate in order to be reconnected, reunited, and be in harmony again with everybody else who was in this valley. Our whole Western spirituality has been developed within a system of separation. Yes, we call it sometimes late-stage capitalism, sometimes we call it colonialism, but at its root, it's also called empire theology. And it is the theology that intersected itself and inserted its power into an indigenous process that was unfolding in the Jewish community. And the Jewish community itself came from an ancient Near East set of religions that were indigenous to that time and place. And out of the ancient Near East came what we now know as modern-day Judaism. But before there was modern-day Judaism, there was just the Torah, which told the stories of the people of God who understood themselves to be community rather than individuals. And it is from that tradition that Jesus of Nazareth grew up and preached from. And it is true to know that he too was an indigenous person, living in a diaspora underneath an empire that ultimately killed and crucified him. His is a story of separation. His was a message of how do you reconnect? How do you build beloved community? And that got intersected, perverted, and suppressed by the Roman Empire. And then that has continued generation upon generation upon generation until we are here today in the United States, in late-stage capitalism, in a time and a place when it seems like, can we just name it? It feels like the world is falling apart. A time and a place when it seems like all that we have held dear as Unitarians and Universalists, as human beings, as Western people committed to democracy and to fairness and to radical inclusivity and diversity and equity and all of those words that are now seemingly banned in government grants, that we are those people now who are in danger of being removed yet again from the land. So the question this year is, what are we to do about it? How do we become Indigenous again? We do the work, and we work through it. There are no shortcuts to this process. There is no appropriation, there's no copying, there's no faking it till you make it. There is just showing up, bearing witness, and being in community with each other. It does occur to me, of course, as Unitarian Universalists, that there is a joke built into our name, that we desperately seek for unity and universalism, where there is actually not. That is just a metaphor for helping us remember what we do share. But that as Unitarian Universalists, we are also called to represent, to honor, and to celebrate the vast diversity of experience that makes us human. The stories we tell about ourselves, about the origin of the planet, about the origin of North America, about the origins of our religious and cultural traditions, they matter. Oh, I've got the light of God on me. Okay, I'm going to move over here. I don't need a blinding light. I'm already Jesus-like enough, I'm sure. So, as Cate mentioned, we have many stories that roll around on this land that's now called North America. We have the stories of Sky Woman, we have the stories of Greek mythology, we have the stories of the Bible, and these all are melding and molding and rolling around and creating new pathways for us to move forward. And we have an opportunity right now to create a new set of stories. We're well aware that our stories are not working. And it is an opportunity for us to create some new stories. You see, today, in this time and place, we talk about culture wars. But I think we sometimes don't understand exactly what a culture war is. We don't understand that a culture war is what culture is. We don't understand that what culture is everything. Culture is everything. It is everything you think you know and how you know it or think you know it. It is the architecture of your body, your mind, and your spirit, and the idea that you are ever a three-part person to begin with. And so if you wish to wake up from a story that is no longer working for you, you have to dig deep into your creative and collective moral imagination to bring forth a new story. And my hope is that this place, this community, is a place that is working very hard to create new narrative strands that we can weave together into a time and a place and a belief and a possibility that we actually are the ones we've been waiting for, that there is nobody else, and that we are very lucky to be alive right now, because that means we are able to respond. If this had happened a generation before or a generation after, you would not have the opportunity that you have right now to show up, to respond, and be part of what brings forth a creative falling down of empire and a rebirth of something new. We have to return to this ground of being and know it again for the first time. Because the ground of being is, of course, always underfoot. You cannot escape it, not just because of gravity, but because there's literally nowhere else to go. The Unitarians and the Universalists knew this, and it has been part of our theological tradition for a very long time. That this is our time, this is our place, we are the ones that can make it happen, and we do not do it alone. That we do what is here and now before us, knowing that there were many people and many generations that came already, and there are generations yet to come, and that it is time for us to do our part. And if you don't know where to start, you just start right now. No activist ever set out to become an activist. Martin Luther King Jr. did not set out to be a justice leader. He did what he had to do, and he fulfilled the call in his heart to lead his people forth. Jesus of Nazareth probably didn't think, well, I don't know, there's lots of stories from the Middle Ages about what he did think, but I can imagine that he didn't come into the world necessarily thinking he was going to be a great leader who was going to be crucified at the age of 30 to 35. That's probably not part of his plan. And it has not been the intent of this community to bring forth harm. It has been the intent of this community to bring forth positive, inclusive, radical justice, compassion, and love. And I have seen this community do this time and time and time again. And we are going to keep doing it. I don't know how many of you had a chance yesterday to go down to the rally. I was there. I know many of you were there. There was thousands of people there. I want to tell you how much hope that gave me. That in this time and in this place when the news is so bad, every single day, and people are losing their jobs and they are being harmed, to see the people of Utah show up in mass by the thousands to gather together and say, we see a different story. We see something different is possible, and we are not going to be quiet about that desire. And we are willing to put in the work. We are part of that tradition, both theologically and by our presence here in Salt Lake City. South Valley has been a part of the answer to what do you do to those who have been left outside of a dominant religious tradition or who find themselves questioning their faith or seeking a faith that fits the shape of their heart. For 43 years, we've been doing this work. And as I said last week, I think we have at least another 430 to go. So today, we're going to take a step together as a community. Many of you know that we have been working on a plan to revamp our grounds. And what you might not know is that I have always seen this as a project of becoming more connected. That when I arrived to this community 5 years ago, I saw a beloved community that has been scrappy and has been connected and has worked hard to build and to grow this community, has put in things like an elevator, raised $100,000 in the drop of a dime, and put in an elevator, has lovingly recarpeted and repainted and redone everything inside the building that could be done. And I recognized when I came here too, that the one area that South Valley had not had an opportunity to really invest in was our outdoor spaces. And that it was going to be time soon to do that. And so I've been thinking about that for 5 years. I'm sure the people who've been here for 30 or 40 years have been thinking about it the whole time. That apparently the parking lot was old when we moved in 40 years ago. So, those of you who know about curb appeal and our grounds project, you know that this project has grown and morphed and changed. And throughout all of it, the worship team, the grounds team, the staff team, the board team, we have been asking these questions. What does it mean to beautify, to reshape, and to reconnect to our land? And with the work of the grounds team, especially of Colin, we have created a beautiful plan, and we have presented it to all of you. We have presented it to various different partners that will be working with us on this. And last week, we invited our civil engineering team to take a look at our grounds closely and help us to understand if there was any issues that needed to be addressed before we broke ground. And late on Friday night, they said, yes. It was not the kind of yes that you want to receive. But it was a yes. And we are still figuring out what that yes means. But what the yes means for us is that we are actually at a time and a place of pause. Because our land is telling us through our civil engineering report that it loves our vision and our plan, but that if we want to build a sustainable community, we got to work on our drainage also. And that's not going to be cheap. So today we had planned and imagined that we would be doing a groundbreaking. And we had this beautiful shovel painted gold with red ribbons on it. And we were going to dig a big hole in the front yard. And we were going to start and break ground next week. And we're not going to do that. We're going to wait and pause. But because we are a community of learning and of celebration, we are still going to go outside and do our plan. We're going to surround the grounds on the front lawn, and we are going to sing a blessing of gratitude to this land, for it has spoken to us. It says, you go, girl. You get this land, and you rip up that asphalt, and you let us breathe, and you plant some trees on me, and I will love you for the next 430 years. But please, fix the drainage first. So, without further ado, we are going to process outside as a community Cate is going to carry our chalice. Our children are going to join us out there. And we are going to surround ourselves on the front lawn. And we are going to sing to our land. And we are going to celebrate the joy that is this community.
Thank you for playing musical sanctuary this morning. I'm glad you all are here. So I'm going to invite us to sing number 1010, We Give Thanks. But there's a phrase in there for the time we share. I'm going to encourage you to say for the land we share. So I'm going to step away from the mic because I am really nervous about singing on microphone, but you'll all sing a cappella. Okay, here's our chalice. And that's in here. Okay, great. I invite you to settle those feet of yours on the ground. And if you are so inclined, you can even put your bare hands on the ground. And I want you just to send your love and your affection. Yeah, if you're wearing white pants, don't kneel on the ground. But if you want to, maybe just touch the ground for just a moment. Just give it your attention and your love. Knowing, and then you can stand up. You don't have to stay down there. And you have old knees, it's fine. But just to sort of notice that we are here. And this is our land and this is our community. And we love it. And I think it loves us back. So just be with that just for a moment. We love this land and it loves us back. And Colin, can you please come over here for just a moment? We have something for you.
You want the gold shovel?
Well, yes, you can also have the gold shovel for when it is time. This will be yours. But today, Colin, can you give me that little item over there? Now, a long time ago, in the very beginning of our grounds planning, there was a little bit of a joke going amongst those of us on the grounds team about these juniper bushes out here that I absolutely loathe because they are full of spiders and probably rats and things like that. Though apparently there was a $50 bill that came out of it at one point. Cinnamon can tell the tale of that. So we're still looking for another 50 to come out of there because we might need another $50 or so to fix the drainage on our property. But as part of that, how many of you know Monty Python? Yes. And the joke about shrubbery. So this is your shrubbery. Yes. Yes. So thank you, Colin. You have shepherded us through so much nuance, so much complexity, and you have done a stunning job. We would not be where we are today without your commitment. So thank you. And I also just want to thank the board of directors, and I want to thank all of you who have donated your time, your talent, and your treasure to this project. It is going to be grand when we fix our drainage. So let's now take a moment to extinguish our chalice. And then if you want to go back inside for social hour, you can do that, or you can just stand outside and enjoy the sun because it's spring in Utah. So let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the chalice. Not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other and our lands and our hearts until we meet again. Blessed be, amen, and may today be a glorious and joyful day, full of all the kinds of adventures that you want. May we be connected evermore to the land. I'm just going to say, you're awesome. I love you. And let's get some coffee.